Hey guys, it's Scales, and today we are going to talk about how to use the type tool. So we have a new worksheet for us to work on, and the type tool, while it allows you to do, of course, the basics of being able to create a text box and create a text box and fill it with really whatever you want, which is great. It also has a lot more versatility than just being able to simply type in a regular box like you could in, say, Word or PowerPoint. So we're going to go through, I have 9 very quick exercises for you that explore underneath the type tool all of these different type tools that you may not have understood what they are for. The first one is your basic type tool. This is a tool that just lets you create a simple text box. Then we have the area type tool. We have type on a path, which remember when we learned the pen tool, that's what we were creating. We were creating paths, and we're going to learn how to type in a path that's open and a path that is closed. We have a vertical type tool, a vertical area type tool, and then vertical type on a path tool. We're not going to get into the touch type tool. To be honest, I don't use it really very often, so it's just not something that I think we're quite ready to explore yet, but you're more than welcome to play with it when you have time. For the first one here, let me zoom in. Remember that H on your keyboard lets you grab your screen and kind of move it around. We're going to do what's called type on an open path. When you use the pen tool, remember that you can have an open path that you have to hit escape to get out of, or you can have a closed path, which means it's a complete and whole shape. But for this, we're going to just type on an open path. Now, mine looks like this. You do not have to have yours look the same. What you're going to do is just create any kind of path. So I'm just going to pull a curve here, and it doesn't matter whether it's solid or it's like got a stroke on it. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to hit escape to get out of my path, because when we use the type on a path tool, if you right click, type on a path, when I click, the color is going to go away and all I'm going to be left with is the path. So now I can type on a path. Now if you notice, my font disappeared. Just like a regular text box, I can come up here and change my font size. I can change my font to anything that I want. It doesn't matter. But what we're going to have as well, when you've got this, you're going to have a center point here. This is going to show me the center of my path. I'm going to have my starting point and my ending point. When I move to my direct select tool, it's going to work very similar to the way that you can manipulate an object. So now I can actually manipulate my starting point and my ending point, and I can move these lines around and take away, and maybe I just want it on that very beginning portion of the type of the path, and I don't want it to go on the end. So then I can shrink down my font so it fits on there. The other thing I can do is I can also change the orientation of my type. So if I get here in the middle, I can pull it down, and now it's going to go the opposite way, which can be really usable depending on what you're trying to do. The other nice thing is let's say I don't like the way this curve is working, I can also take my direct select and actually move, if I double click, and change the path I've already created without having to start over. Because maybe it's almost exactly right, but I just want to tweak it a little bit to make it look like I want it to. Okay? For the closed path, it's going to work the same way, but instead I'm going to use a circle, or you could draw a closed path. It's up to you, but I'm going to use a circle for now. And I'm just going to draw a regular circle. It doesn't really matter. The size it is going to be the size of your path, so kind of keep that in mind. And then we're going to click on the path, not on the inside, but on the actual path. So now I can type along the edge of my circle. And of course you can do this for any rectangle, square, octagon, anything like that. And just like before, I can now adjust where my path starts and where it finishes. You'll notice that these two open and close sections were right next to each other. So that's a bit of a struggle sometimes when you're first starting out, to making sure that you're grabbing the right portion of your path, but you can manipulate it just the same as you can. The other thing you can do, which I didn't show you, is you can change the alignment and it will move your stuff around as well. On a circle, what's nice is I can actually get in here and rotate it like this and move it that way, which sometimes can be a little easier when you're first starting out than trying to grab these. Because the other thing that'll happen is you'll get this if it looks like a little icon with text in the corner. Just hit your A key again to get back to manipulate the direction and the starting point and the ending point of your path. All right. This is your vertical type. I'm sorry, we're going to do this one first. This is your flip on a closed path. So it's the same way we just did. So I'm going to draw a circle. I'm going to type on a path. But this time, I want to flip my words to the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, drag my direct select, and I'm going to get to this center point and see how my mouse changed. I'm going to zoom in so everybody can see. See when I click on it, see how there's an arrow showing me that's going to the inside? I can click and drag, and it's going to flip my words to the inside. This can be very, very helpful if you're trying to maybe do a logo or something like that, and you want your words to wrap around the bottom of something. So I do this actually a fair amount, and then I can come over here and then I can adjust my start and my end points any which way I want to. So maybe I want it to come along like a half circle, and then I get that look. Not too bad, right? Vertical type, we're going to use the vertical type tool. It works just like the regular type tool, but this time we're going to draw a box like we normally would. And when we type into this box, you're going to notice that my font is going a different way, vertically. And this is true for punctuation as well. Again, just like any other box, I can manipulate this and I can change the font size. The other thing we haven't talked about yet is if you open up the window and you go to type and open up the character menu, I can also change the line spacing to get my words closer together. And I can also change the letter spacing, or what's called the, it's called basically tracking. I can change the amount of space between each of my letters, and you'll see that it's automatically, it's kind of spreading out each letter kind of nicely. All right. We've learned how to type on a path. Now we've learned vertical type. And now you can combine the two, and we're going to create a new path. And I can use the vertical type on a path tool, which is down here, and it will type vertically on my path. Now, obviously, you can use this for closed paths as well as open paths, and it works the same way. All the other ways you use this tool work the same way. So again, you can change the starting point and the ending point. You can change the direction of the way your font's going, but instead of it flipping back and forth, you notice it flips the direction that the words are going in, which can be very useful depending on what you're trying to do. On this one, we're going to type on a path, but this time I want you to do a star. You can do any star you want to. I'm going to do a 8-sided star. And when I type on this, you'll notice that it's going to look a little different because this time the shape is a little more funky to work with. That's the bell. But you get the general idea. And again, just like all the rest of them, you can manipulate and change this any which way you want to. So this could kind of help you create maybe a more disorganized look, kind of whichever way you're trying to do. Area type tool allows us to take our pen tool and create any kind of funky shape that we want, okay? And now when I go to use the area type, I have to click, I can't click here in the center, I have to click on the path. Now my font is going to fill the shape that I just created. Now, when you use this, it's going to basically kind of follow the shape of the path you created. You see it put it over here. But just like before, if I wanted to change this shape a little bit, I can. I can also go into delete an anchor point if I don't want, say, some of these anchor points in here and I want to fix the way the shape looks. I can. I can also obviously change it and of the shape and shrink it down, and the font will automatically adjust to the new shape, which is kind of cool. Same idea is you can do this with the vertical area type tool. So we're going to draw a shape first. And when I go to use the vertical type, it'll do the exact same thing, but this time the font will be vertical. Okay. These aren't too bad, right? It takes barely any time. And then the last one, which I'm not going to show you, is just area type and an octagon. You're going to draw an octagon and then use the area type. It's just for further practice. We're going to be using all of these skills because we're going to do a artistic creation where you're going to use all of these to create a piece of art using only font. So you definitely want to master all of these different type tools for what we're going to do. All right, guys, let's get started. Thank you. The next tool I want to discuss is called the Touch Type tool. The Touch Type tool gives you a lot of versatility in order to edit text, where you don't have that versatility as smoothly if you don't use this tool. Traditionally, when we are thinking about editing text, and we want to change the individual letters inside of one word or phrase or sentence or whatever it is you're doing, typically you have to expand or do outlines, which is an ability to take your font and change it to an object. And normally you would do this under the type menu and you would say create outlines, which is right here, which is also Command or Control Shift O. One of the things that's great about the Touch Type tool is you can take this tool, which is Shift T on your keyboard, and rather than have to change it to an object, you can leave it as font, and then you can manipulate where it goes, and you can change individual letters. You can also widen those individual letters, you can shrink them, you can do all types of things to that one particular letter. Now, the only, I would say, downfall of this is that when you are using this tool, it will affect the other types, the letters in that particular text box. As you can see, I'm moving these around and I'm kind of playing with them, and it's changing the other objects or the other letters in that particular phrase. But what is neat is you can manipulate individual letters. So I can actually change the size of the letters while it's in one font. I can change the font itself. I can change the font color. You have a lot of abilities to manipulate without having to convert it to outlines or expand it into an object. So for this activity, for number 10, what I would like for you to do is change one phrase, word. You see, I've just got Touch Type right now, and just show me that you can manipulate the individual pieces. The other thing that I like about Touch Type is you can also use it interchangeably with other type options. So with the area type and the vertical type, and the one I want to demonstrate is area type on a path. So I'm going to draw a path. I just like circle paths. That's kind of my go-to. And I'm going to type on a path. The thing about the Touch Type tool is you do have to have your font created before you edit. So that's something to be aware of. You do have to have it before you can edit. So you want to make sure that when you are using this particular tool, you already have what you want to manipulate. I'm going to zoom in so I can flip this. You want to have it already so that it can be manipulated before you use that Touch Type tool. Okay. I'm going to just scale this down so you guys can see a little bit better. And rotate. Just want to be able to see what I'm reading here. Remember when that thing kind of pops up, you just have to go back to your selection tool. There it is. When that thing pops up, you just have to hit V on your keyboard again to get back to your selection tool if you're editing a type on a path. So now that I've got my type on a path, I'm going to go back to my touch type tool and I'm going to click, and now I can manipulate individual letters. And I'm just going to grab and move some of my letters around. This gives you some really nice abilities to do all sorts of things depending on what it is you're looking for. The other thing is if like maybe you want to space it out a little bit more and you want to individually personalize that spacing, depending on what it is you're looking to do, you have that ability. One of the things that I always find that I use this for is when I make logos, for example, and there's maybe a particular font I'm using. Like I like the font Pacifico. It's kind of one of my go-to fonts. And let me not have it in all caps. One of the things that I find is depending on the spacing that I'm wanting to do, if you look, all of these are really lovely and connected. However, the C and the A of my name are not connected. And maybe I want to manipulate that. So what I can do is I can take this and pull these a little bit closer to each other, because here's the issue, and I want to show you why I like to talk about this tool, is I have the ability to adjust the character spacing of this, right? It's one of the options that we have in our character panel is this where you can change the spacing between it. But what I want you to notice is when I reduce one, it's going to reduce all of them. So I just want to increase the space next to the C and the A, right? But if you're watching where I've got it kind of hidden, unfortunately, if you're watching as I change this, it changes all of them. And now the ALS, all that is not readable. It's not visible, which is why the touch tool is really convenient because I can just pull those two in a little closer. And then maybe I want to pull the L and the A apart just a smidge to give myself some space. I can really personalize the way this looks for myself and get it to look exactly the way that I envision it in my mind. So that's a beautiful tool to know how to use and to have in your arsenal. All right. Hopefully, you've gotten a really good glimpse of the types of font choices that you have and how to manipulate font and how to manipulate text. And this will come in handy as we continue to progress into Adobe Illustrator. Thanks so much.